I've had the sourdough for almost a year now, or sorry, I've had the sourdough starter for almost a year now. One of my best friends gave it to me as part of a larger birthday gift last summer. And I mean, I was so excited to get it, but just also terrified that I would screw it up. And it was this special old world sourdough starter, so I really only had one try. It's just wild because I used to love to bake. Like, I've made creme brulee and cheesecake from scratch, and you know, my husband and I make pies, but it's easy compared to bread, especially sourdough. Sourdough is so hard. There's so many variables. I have a lot more time now, and when life gives you dried sourdough starter, you make bread. So that's what I'm going to try. I'll learn something new no matter what. So today I'm going to read through the recipe, make sure I have all the ingredients, and I don't know, maybe start rehydrating the starter? I don't know. But let's get started. So according to the internet, the first thing I'm gonna need is some unbleached flour, and I just ran out of my old container, but no. This is sugar. I don't have flour. Okay. On my last grocery store run, I went and I got the right flour, so we're good there. I actually have done a little more research since last time, and a lot of recipes recommend two types of flour, a white flour and a wheat or rye flour to give a bit more flavor to the sourdough starter. So that's what I did. And now I think I can actually get started. Here we have the envelope that I got in the mail with the starter and everything I need. There's the pretty floral card with the starter in it. Then the instructions on how to start the starter, a recipe, and a cardboard. So what exactly is in this envelope? As far as I can tell, it's a dried sample of an existing old world starter that I can rehydrate and then use myself.
So Shayna, tell me what's going on with this flour situation.
When I went to the grocery store, I grabbed an all-purpose unbleached flour and a whole wheat unbleached flour. And then I noticed a hole in the wheat flour, so I ran back to swap them. And I got the same brand, but this is also white flour. So now I just have two things of white flour and no wheat flour. So we took a little road trip to a QFC and bought the correct flour, I think. While the instructions that came with the sourdough starter weren't very specific, I know that in general a sourdough starter needs two things: water, preferably filtered, and flour. So like I said before, a couple recipes recommend using two flours, so that's what I did. I probably don't need to restate that at this point. While the instructions that came with the starter recommended a half a cup of water and a half a cup of flour, in general for baking, I know that weight is more important because flour can be packed or not packed, so volume it can be inconsistent. So I thought I would weigh out the water, and then however much weight of water I had, I would then weigh out the flour. You'll see what I'm doing, it'll make sense. And then the recipe specifically called for warm water, so I heated up a measuring cup in the microwave. I microwaved the water for 30 seconds and then I measured the temperature. It was actually a little too hot, so I decided I would wait and let it cool, and then I'd measure out the flour to match the water. And then because I'm using two different flours, I had to cut the weight of the water in half and do 60 grams each. I don't know, guys. Every recipe I find is pretty scientific with this. I know baking is a science, okay? And not an art, but I'm an artist, not a scientist. By the time that I'd measured out the flour, the water was cool enough, so I poured it over the top, and I decided to use a chopstick to stir. I don't know why. I ended up finding some dry patches of flour, so don't do that. Next up is the dried sourdough starter. I'm not gonna lie, I debated only putting in half and then like squirreling away the other half in case I screwed up. But then I worried that the proportions of flour and water wouldn't be right, so I just I was brave and I put it all in. And that was kind of it for today. I did want to label the sourdough starter because I'm planning on having a couple, this is an old world dried sourdough starter, so it'll be pretty quick, it seems like, from the instructions, but I do want to do the wild sourdough starter thing where it takes like a week and a half of feeding. You know, I need to differentiate. I decided to name this one Banquo because, you know, it's old and Shakespeare is old. And when I saw Macbeth, my favorite actor, my favorite character was Banquo. The actor who played him was just great. So, you know, he was great, my sourdough will be great, and maybe I'll call the loaves McBread. Anyway, I labeled Banquo, I included like the next time I had to feed him, and like most importantly, I left a crack in the lid, like the lid was a little bit open, so that anything Banquo produces will be able to escape and not explode in my refrigerator. It's time for Banquo's first feeding. I took a look already and he's a lot bigger and he has bubbles. He's waking up. It's great. Today, I'm gonna feed him his flour. I'll heat up some nice water for him. I'll stir him all up and then I'll just leave him to feed and grow. I think I have to feed him again in 12 hours, which is gonna be weird because it's like noon now. I'll figure something out. Side note, what do we call people that keep sourdough starters? Because, you know, we have pet parents and plant parents, actual parents of human children. Yeast is alive. Sourdough starters are alive, so we need a title. Sourdough sitters? This is a bit ad hoc. It's night 2, but I just looked inside. Bubbles! Good morning. It is day 3 and it's time to feed Banquo. Now, the instructions actually say that I need to feed him every 12 hours now, but if you recall, I first fed him at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and I'm not awake at 12:30 at night, so I've just woken up and I'm gonna do his third feeding. It's about 9:30 a.m., so I'll feed him right before I go to bed. And hopefully that's a pattern that I can keep up. Yeah, let's see how he looks this morning. Look at that, wow. I really hope this deflates. Still stirring, it's fine, let's do it. To make a souffle, because with that you don't want to deflate air bubbles, and with this I must deflate air bubbles. There's lots of dry pockets of flour in here, and that's my fault because of how I stirred it. So now I'm just trying to break those up and get those exposed to the liquid and the starter. I'm actually really afraid that Banquo's going to spill out from his container while I'm gone. So I have a plate. That should keep us safe, right? Hey, so as you can tell by the horrible lighting, it is nighttime, which means it's time to do Banquo's 12-hour feeding. This might be the last time I do it because honestly, he looks very strong and ready to go. Okay, I actually think the right thing to do is the flour first. think he needs a bowl.
Would you like me to get him a bowl?
Yeah.
Because he's gonna rise more, isn't he?
Exactly.
Oh, someone just had a light bulb moment.
I thought there would be more gas that would deflate. Gonna give him a thorough mixing. Ooh, yes, release that gas now. What's nice about these bowls is they actually come with a lid, leaving the crack, of course, for the gas to escape. Good morning. It's day 4. I am tired, but it is the last day that I will be feeding Big Wood daily, and it's a special feeding, so I'll be following the instructions to do that. And then it'll just go to feeding him once a week. So that's something. Let's see how he did overnight. Whoa. Lots of bubbles. Lots of buttermilk smell. Look at all those bubbles. I need to start with putting half a cup of starter in here, and the rest is discarded. But this is a lot of flour and water, so I'm going to do something with it. I'll use you later. Next, we do half a cup of water, and then 3/4 cup of flour. Okay, I will be back at like 6:30 and we'll make some bread.